There were stairs, but...
I went, sorry. Of course, I take the road less traveled. Well, thank you for coming out today, and thank you to everybody for organizing this event, especially Pamela Rice. So one good thing about being a publisher is that I actually sound much smarter than I am, because I just read all the books that people send me, but I actually have nothing myself to say. But I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story which will unfold some of the things that mean the most to me about how I became involved in this movement. So I first became interested in vegetarianism in 1989 through the auspices of my partner, now my wife, who told me about what they do to animals. But because I was who I was, I didn't ask any questions, I just decided I would call myself a vegetarian without actually becoming a vegetarian. I continued to eat fish and some forms of meat. But finally I decided to become a vegetarian in full and gave up eating all land and air and sea animals in 1989, and then finally became a vegan in 1993. On my way to doing that, I came to New York City from England, and I took a master's degree in religious studies at NYU. And I was interested in the Bible and animal rights and vegetarianism. And in part of my research, I went to a health food store that used to be on Mercer Street. And I walked in, and there on the counter was this interesting little pamphlet which contained reasons as to why one might become a vegetarian. With full resources, and I looked at it, and there were 101 of them. And that was my first encounter with 101 reasons why I'm a vegetarian, by Pam Rice. And I got in contact with Pam, and Pam at that time was doing a lot of street activism, including creating a full-sized veal crate, which of course wasn't very large at all, in which on Mother's Day she would have offer people a chance to sit in a veal crate and see what it is like for the sons of other mothers to spend all 16 weeks of their life in a veal crate. And she created Penelope Pod and a whole range of other very engaging and informative street theatre. And during the process of that time, I also met a woman called Jean Thaler, who's in the audience. She's the founder of Big Apple Vegetarians, and they had regular potlucks at which we heard speakers and we vegetarians got together. And it is through these two women that I learned the vast majority of what I know today about vegetarianism, veganism. Now, they don't have their own cooking shows. They don't have their own line of clothing. They're not the big names and the stars of the animal advocacy movement. They're not celebrities in LA. But it is people like them and people like Solveig Zafares, who years ago would stand on the corner of 5th Avenue and 57th Street with her full display of the suffering of animals and give out leaflets, who changed the world. They are the ones who stir the grassroots, who keep us all going year by year by year, putting on events like this. So while they may not get the big contracts and get the big name headlines, for me they feel the heart of the animal advocacy and the vegetarian movement. And when I'm told, well, you people, all you do is care about animals, I'm reminded of Solveig, who while she was working the streets of New York, giving out lots and lots of leaflets and telling people about what they do to animals, was looking after her husband, who had multiple sclerosis. And they are the social workers, the teachers, the nurses, the people who care about all animals, whether they're human or not. Now, one of the pleasures of doing a master's thesis is you get to read lots of books, and one of the books I did read was a book by a woman called Carol Adams called The Sexual Politics of Meat, a feminist vegetarian critical theory. And I was working in a bookstore at the New York Open Center, way down on Spring Street then, and I wanted to get into publishing in New York City, so I wrote to the company. And I said, I want to work for a company that produces books like this, because this book is a wonderful book. And the second piece of advice I would give today, apart from listen to women activists on the street, is to flatter your would-be employer. And I had an interview with a guy called Gene, and lo and behold, a year later, I got to work for the company that produced The Sexual Politics of Meat, and I got to be the promoter of works by Carol Adams, and that happened for 5 years. Then 5 years after that, I went to Gene, I'm tired of working for this company, why don't we start our own publishing company? So we went and we started a publishing company which was publishing works in vegetarianism, environmentalism and animal advocacy, and one of the first people we published was Carol Adams, The Inner Art of Vegetarianism. Fast forward another 14 years, and as Karen was just saying, I published a number of books, including the book version of 101 Reasons Why I'm a Vegetarian. And now I've just published Defiant Daughters, 21 Women on Art, Activism, Animals, and the Sexual Politics of Meat. This book carries on the legacy of Carol's work in the voice of 21 young women who have grown up with the sexual politics of meat and all of that the work in that book meant to them. And they are now taking it forward to the new generation of feminism and activism and veganism. And so I find myself back where I began, promoting the work of Carol Adams, bringing forward the work of the new Carol Adamses, the new women who are going to take the message forward, and being in the very privileged position of being able to give voice to women writers who are working in many, many different fields, spreading the word. So I wanted finally to say, we may place a lot of premium on the visible. We may place a lot of premium on the large animal advocacy organizations and the celebrities, and I think that's fine. But I want us never to forget the grassroots work, the work that takes place on the corners, on the streets, in the veal crates, behind the costumes, with leaflets, and the work that's done with the sanctuaries. People like Karen Davis of United Poultry Concerns, who single-handedly raised the issue of how 95, maybe even more, 99% of the animals that are killed each year in the United States are treated. The chickens and the turkeys and the geese and the ducks. So I'd like to honor them today and thank them for the role they played in helping me do the work I do. Thank you. Who is next? And my table is all the way over there. Happy to answer any questions you have far in.